Greetings, Bend. How are you today? All right, I'm Joel, and I need everybody in this room right now to do something. Stand up. Now, who are you and what do you do? I want you to answer that question to the person standing next to you. So I'm going to give you guys 30 seconds. You're going to introduce ourselves to everybody next to you, okay? So tell the person next to you who you are and what you do. Okay, time's up. Time's up. All right, take a seat. Now, I want you to take note of what the person next to you said and take note of what you said, okay, because we're going to come back to that. But I want to start by asking you a question. Do you have a nagging sense that you are capable of so much more? That you are capable of greatness, but something's holding you back, and this nags at you, this bugs you. Well, I'm going to tell you a story that happened to me some years ago, because we're going to be talking about this issue today, and I think it's a big problem in our industry that creates this situation where we as creatives are held back from our full potential. So to start my story, I'm going to tell you that I used to run this company called Impossible Pictures, and it was a creative agency production company based in Denver. And I always had dream clients, like, man, I would love to work with that brand or that person. I'm sure everyone here has those as well. Now, just imagine if you had a dream client that you wanted to work with, and it took you 3 years to get the meeting. That was me, because I wanted to have a meeting with DirecTV, which is now part of AT&T. Because I just knew these people were going to be an awesome client for us. We were going to do great work for them someday, and we were going to make tons of money, and it was going to be absolutely fabulous. But it took me 3 years of reaching out, trying to find the right person, coordinating, scheduling, conflicts, can't make it, reschedule. 3 years later, I finally got a meeting. And the meeting happened right here. This is the lobby of the JW Marriott in downtown Los Angeles. And I was at a conference there, so this lobby was teeming with people. But Roger Hyde, senior vice president from DirecTV, met me and some people from my team right there after 3 years. So this was my moment. Now you can imagine this crowded room, all these people coming and going. I finally meet Roger, and we exchange pleasantries, and then he says, so tell me about your company. And I said, well, you know, we're this creative studio, and we're collaborative, and we're passionate, we're design-centric, focused. Did I mention collaborative? Blah, 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 right? And before I can even finish rattling off all these cliches, he sort of stops me, and he says, I'm sorry, man. I've met with at least 12 companies like yours today. You guys all sound the same. In fact, if I'm really honest, you guys all suck at marketing. So why would I trust you with marketing my brand? Check, please. Yeah, I mean, I just feel cold busted. Like, even telling the story right now, I kind of get chills because he just nailed me, right? I don't even remember what I said after that because I'm sure I tried to cover and save face, but I knew the meeting was over, and the meeting was over. And can you guess how long it was before I got another meeting with Roger and before we ever ended up doing work for DirecTV? Never. Okay, I'm still waiting. Roger, come on, let's do this. So on that day, Roger showed up fully prepared to meet a new creative collaborator. But on that day, he didn't find one. Okay, and I walked away with this sting, realizing I had blown it. That was my shot, and I blew it. And still to this day, I remember this story vividly. Now, fortunately, I actually thank Roger for this experience because it sent me on a trajectory that I'm still on today. And this is my backstory. Now, fast forward to today. Just a few weeks ago, I was talking with a buyer. So this is someone who buys services and creativity from folks like yourself. And this guy put it this way, and I thought this might hit a little closer to home with you in the audience. He said this. He said, the process of finding a designer is insanely challenging. I know if I throw a croissant in a coffee shop, I'll hit one. But how do I find the right vendor for my brand? Seriously, tell me what to Google. What's going on here? What's going on here? The problem is that my theory is that clients and problems and opportunities and challenges don't know how to find you. And that's a big issue. And every day I think this problem is faced by clients all over the world, hundreds and thousands of times. But you might say, no, Joel, not me. I have a great website. Really? That is so great. Good for you. How's that working for you? Now, I posted a meme about a year and a half ago on social media that stirred up a lot of controversy, and I got some great feedback from not only designers and creatives, animators, and so forth, but also from clients, from buyers, who said, oh yeah. And it goes like this. Have you ever seen this? Maybe this is on your website. We, because it's about us, right, are a, meaning one of many, creative, because of course those other shops you follow are also uncreative, studio that is passionate. After all, every other shop hates what they do. About producing award-winning, no one else wins awards, storytelling, whatever the hell that means. Our unique process, which is really similar to everyone else's, is design-driven, more like caffeine-driven, and highly collaborative, as opposed to our competitors who despise cooperation. Want to work with us? Who doesn't? Give us a call. We're desperate. So if you take all the words in bold, you could probably say this is a lot like what the message I have on my website. There's probably some people in here that are cringing in their chair like, can I just run away now? So yes, this sounds all too familiar. Now, let's talk about websites for a second. Because maybe you have a website that looks like this. And I don't know Sasha, but I grabbed this website as a good example. What does this tell you? What is this person saying? Maybe you have a website like this. Or this. Or maybe this. Are you starting to get a sense of the perspective here? Because this, folks, I want to welcome you to what I call the sea of sameness. Even though, yes, there's tons of beautiful, brilliant, great creative work here, if you put yourself in the shoes of clients, of the problems that are out there, the challenges that are seeking what you do and your genius, this is kind of a mess. And wouldn't we agree that design is supposed to make things easier and simpler? So why are we, as designers, making things harder? All right. Now, a quick mention about me, because that's all my introduction and setup here. You can Google me. There's me, Joel Pilger, and you'll find out I have a podcast. I have been on some shows. I work with some really amazing clients. And in fact, I work with this consultancy called RevThink. And I am fortunate enough to come alongside owners running some of the best, most dynamic, amazing production companies and studios in the world. So I'm extremely blessed. And before that, I ran this company, Impossible Pictures, for 20 years before I started consulting. So feel free to look me up, follow me, all that kind of good stuff. That would be great. But here's our topic of today. Our crisis of unhelpfulness. Are we actually helping, or are we making things more difficult? And what we're going to talk about is the real reasons opportunities aren't finding you. And most of all, what to do about it. Now, what I find going on behind the scenes here, or in our brains, are some common myths that I want to unpack. The first myth that I want to start with, it's probably the number one that everyone in this room is going to say, uh-oh. It's all about the work, Joel. If we just produce great work, everything else will take care of itself. Have you ever said this one to yourself or to your colleagues? Because we as creatives have this love affair with the work. It's what we do. It's also this self-expression and everything. But unfortunately, the truth is that clients and the problems and the challenges out there, they don't even know what great work is. That's why they're coming to you. Showing them your past is only one way of expressing who you are and what you do. Okay, so this website here is from a studio I worked with called Kingdom of Something. And I call this a wallpaper positioning. We're just going to put up a wallpaper of all of our work and trust that clients will infer who we are and what we do. Now, myth number 2, do it all or you're going to miss out. Now, this is expressed very often in this little phrase I have here on this magnifying glass, full service. Full service. Wow, that's a fun one. If you pardon my French, I say full service is full of shit. Because that's a rude way for me to get your attention and say, look, you don't prepare tax returns. You don't wash windows. Your clients have tons of needs of services. If you were full service, you would do all these things. But you don't. You have an expertise, right? And that genius is really part of what's more true about who you are and what you do. So we don't want to claim that we do it all, because by appealing to everyone, we appeal to no one. Now, let me keep going. Myth number 3, we must appease the Google gods. Oh my gosh, Joel, help me get on page 1 of Google. Because if I could just get there, I'll have so many opportunities and so many people calling me and so forth and so on. And I'm here to tell you, this is not true. This is not true. I was recently on a podcast with Jonathan Stark, which is a great guy to follow, I recommend highly. And while I was on his podcast, we were talking about how do you get found? And Jonathan made this point, Joel, you make a good point, that if you Google pricing consultant, which is what Jonathan does, he said, I'm nowhere in the search results. But if you Google the ditching hourly guy, because that's the name of his podcast, the name of his book, he's right there. There's only one ditching hourly guy. He's the guy. And the more we talked about it, the more we realized that, if you're putting energy and effort into trying to be on this first page, that you're actually a commodity. Because you're describing yourself using a term that everyone else is also using, and you're just trying to battle your way up to this page 1 result. And I'll tell you this, the calls that you get and the inquiries you get by being on page 1, 99% of them are noise and garbage, and it'd be a huge waste of your time, and a waste of your talent as well. Another thought I have for you is, you might think that your goal is to get to the front of the line. But I want you to think, no, I want you to get out of line. In fact, I want you to be out of line. Okay? This is where you're going to separate yourself and help the world find you. Now, here's the thing I know. There is nearly infinite opportunity out there. There is nearly infinite opportunity out there, okay? But are you slipping into the sea of sameness? Okay? Yeah, next slide, please. I love it. Here's what's possible. Okay, this is where we're headed today. We're going to master something that I call positioning. 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 Now, what is positioning? I'm going to give you a little definition here. That positioning is a marketing strategy that aims to make your brand occupy a distinct position in the mind, relative to competing brands in the mind of your client. Okay, so think about that. It's literally, I call this carving out your positioning in the minds of your clients. Like there's that space in my brain where you live and where you live and where you live. And everybody else lives on a shelf over there somewhere in the corner of my office, and I never go over there. Now, with positioning, here's what I discovered. You remember my meeting with Roger Hyde when he just cut me down? I walked away from that meeting with this sting and also this decision. I was determined to solve this riddle of positioning because I was never again going to put myself in that situation and blow it, or should we say, stumble into the sea of sameness, like our little friend here did. So I started studying, I started observing, I started watching and looking at companies around the world. And over a period of maybe 3 or 4 years, I started developing a theory based on patterns that I saw. And here was the broad pattern. Creative companies and creative types will talk about themselves in various dimensions. They'll talk about who we are, what we do, when we do it, where we do it, why we do it, how we do it, and so what? Why should we care? Now, of all these various dimensions, what I noticed there were 3 that tended to rise above. The companies that were very distinguished or had excellent reputations tended to focus their messaging, their positioning on these 3 dimensions of why and who and how. And as I started reading books on this and finding more and more examples and trying to drill into the patterns, I also noticed something else, that it was this intersection that I now call the 3 Ps. The 3 Ps are purpose, power, and personality. It's that who, that how, and that why. So to just illuminate these a little bit, your purpose, so we're all on the same page, is what's your mission? What's your calling? Maybe why did you get out of bed this morning? That's the thing that really drives you. It's your why. Now your power, I call that your expertise. What is the thing that you do better than anybody else? And you love doing it, and when you do it, big results show up. That's your power, okay? Now your personality is something that is really unique to the creative industry, and that is, yes, it's about you, and you, and you. It's you, the individual, like you, the director, you, the artist. It's it's the way that you do things, your approach, your mentality, okay, your personality, the uniqueness of you as an individual or the individuals at your creative firm. Now you notice this center, that where these 3 things intersect creates this magical alchemy. And what the really smart firms will take the name of their company and mingle it together and create this whole system of messaging that's very powerful, and I'll show you some examples. Now, to give you a little further amplification on what positioning looks like when you put a message out there in the world, these are some of the phrases that come to mind. So your positioning is going to be your point of view, your opinion, your tone of voice, your style, what's the differentiator? Okay, and then these things like what's your angle? What's your attitude? And I especially like this. What's your vibe? And what's your flavor? Flavor is a good one because when we think about how we taste things, I could put 10 different dishes down from 10 different restaurants that all made the same dish, but this one has that little something, that je ne sais quoi of this one has a special flavor, okay? It's a nuance there that people pick up on. We pick up on it as human beings. Now, do you remember when I started, you stood up and you introduced yourself, and someone next to you introduced themselves to you. And they said, "Hi, I'm so-and-so, and I'm what?" Now, do you remember what your neighbor said, and do you remember what you said? Because there's one thing that I know, is that everybody in this room all used the same word, and you didn't even notice yourself do it. Do you know what word it was that you all used? For some reason, this is how we introduce ourselves. And here's what it looks like. I am a designer. I am a filmmaker. I am a fine artist. Now, what does that word "a" actually mean? It says you are one of many. That's how we start. We start by saying, I am a designer out of thousands and millions and billions and trillions of designers. Great. Why do we do that? If I could give you one simple hack that I want to use to shift your thinking, it would be to embrace this. To get you out of the A mindset and get you into the mindset. From A to the. A, one of many. The, one and only. A, one of many. The, one and only. So it looks like this. I am the designer serendipitous. Which I have no idea what that means. But you made me curious. You're the fabulous filmmaker. Oh, tell me more. I am the fine artist of etherealism, which is, again, another phrase I have no idea what that means. But can you imagine introducing yourself to people this way instead of as an A, as a the? So here's what happens. Sea of sameness, and there you are. The one and only you. This is the power of positioning. And now you stand out. And problems, challenges, opportunities, clients can find you. This is my central theory. Now, what I just shared with you is really easy. It's really simple. So why don't we actually do this? If this was so easy and it's so simple, why doesn't everybody do this? Well, you probably know the answer, as in most things in life. It's fear. It's fear. We actually have a lot of fears that come out when I ask you to get clear about what makes you unique and special and put it out there to the universe. What are we afraid of? Well, the most common fear is something I see played out in rooms like this all the time. And that is, oops, I'm going backwards. Fear of the Pier. Most of you position yourselves based on what other people in this room think. And that holds you back. Because we often think, well, but what will my peers think? We may not say it, but we think it. And of course, you might understand where I'm going next, and I would say, who cares what your peers think? You be you. You do you. Because the clients and the problems and the opportunities out there are much more important than what your peers think. Another fear we have, great expectations. That if I put that bold, unique, spicy assertion out there, I might have to actually deliver on it. If I'm the fabulous filmmaker, I'm going to have to step up my game, right? If we look legit, I'm going to have to really own it and crush it, or I'm going to look like a fool or a liar or something. But let me ask you this. What were you planning on doing with the rest of your life anyways? I got thrown that question years ago, and it kind of hit me like a ton of bricks. Like, do I really want to be great? Yes, I do. Oh, yeah. I guess I do. Like, I really do care. I want to be my best. I want to be great. But it forced me to make some tough choices. But I know everybody in this room can make that same shift. Because I would say this, you're here in Bend for that same reason. Because if you're here in this audience and you don't want to be great, I would invite you to stand up and leave the room. Right? Isn't that why we're all here? There's a quote that I love from Marianne Williamson where she talks about us being afraid of our greatness. But the nugget I love most is she says, your playing small doesn't serve the world. So there's this stepping into your greatness that I invite you to consider. All right, fear number 3, narrowing is harrowing. Because yes, when I talk about positioning, I'm going to be telling you about how to narrow and create a focus. Many of you will hear that and say, oh, no, I could never do that. That's turning away so many opportunities. But what I will tell you is there's a way to narrow your positioning in a way that still allows you to respond to all the opportunities that you desire. It's not as simple as, I used to be a graphic designer, but now I'm just an illustrator. Okay, that's one way to narrow, but there's many other ways and dimensions. And in fact, I wrote an article titled this, it's on the RevThink website. So if you go there and you search narrowing or harrowing, you'll see there's a whole article on how can we narrow, what are the various approaches and techniques. I would say this, what's really harrowing is building a business or a future or a career where no one can find you. I'd be much more afraid of that, where the biggest and best opportunities that are a great fit for you pass you by. So where do we begin? Where do we begin? If this is riling you up and I'm getting through to you, I would say the moral of the story is that opportunities cannot find you until you first find yourself. This is where you begin. Now we'll say it one more time with bigger type. Opportunities cannot find you until you first find yourself. And this is where everyone is generally stuck. Now what's funny, of course, is we as designers and as creatives, we know the power of branding and design and marketing. But the cobbler's kids truly have no shoes. Now, what's possible once we solve this is we can stand out, we can step up, we can be known for our expertise, and we can be awarded all of these great opportunities that we desire, that are out there for us. Now, let me show a couple examples to get practical. This is Kingdom of Something, a studio that's a client of mine in Amsterdam and Berlin. On the left over there is their website from a few years ago. And after they went through this 3 Ps method, we brought them here. Kingdom of Something, the problem-solving, dragon-slaying motion studio where imagination surpasses reality. I don't know about you, but I want to meet these guys. I'm like, yeah, what's that about? And do you see that word, the? I actually had called him a few months ago and be like, dude, what the hell is that A doing on your website? He was like, oh, right, sorry. Okay, this is Graham. This is a client of mine in Australia. They were the ones that had full service over there on their website. This is from a couple years ago. After going through this 3 Ps exercise, they came up with this amazing term called Wondercrafting. We're Wondercrafters. which means they're explorers and wanderers and crafters, and they created all this wonderful language. And now they're using this to reach out to the world and introduce themselves to bigger clients, better opportunities, and gaining some really great traction. Now, this is First Fight, a studio I'm working with in Detroit. If you read their before stuff, you can see the word A used there twice. But look at this. Tale of the tape. Lovers, fighters, defenders of form and function. First Fight is the creative studio that helps brands hit above their weight with style, motion, and that knockout punch you didn't see coming. And then step into the ring, all right? Here's the person you can contact. Now notice the language that gets a whole flavor, right? Their theme is fighting, boxing. So it's not about us, it's tale of the tape. It's not contact us, it's step into the ring. So this language and this expression finds all sorts of outlets, okay? If they throw a party, it's gonna be a throwdown, not a party, right? These types of innovations. Now here's Laundry. This is a killer motion design studio in Los Angeles. It's very famous. And a few years ago, they had this, I won't even bother reading it, horrible positioning language on their website. And I worked with PJ, one of the partners there, and we developed this new language that instead of about us, collaborative, design-centric, passionate BS, the language you developed was Laundry, artists, misfits, wild cards. We are experts of the unexpected. And here's what PJ had to say. I was actually just talking to him about an hour ago because I said, hey, dude, I'm going to mention you in my talk today. And he said, go for it, because he shared this publicly, that we repositioned and it changed our success rate dramatically for the better. So success rate for a company like this, think about that. It means we won that job instead of being passed over. We got in that door, we took that meeting. This is big. This is a huge shift for a company like this. Monetarily, portfolio, clients, and all the rest. So this is what I invite you to consider today as a simple hack. I don't know you, I don't know what you do. You could be a composer, an architect, a painter, a philosopher, I don't know. But I want you to start thinking about how to embrace your the-ness instead of your the-ness. And I want you to also push past your fears, okay? Don't fear the peers. Step into your greatness. And also realize that narrowing is not harrowing if you do it the right way. Now, what's possible is that I think today, because this is the first time I've ever presented this topic, here today in Bend, I'm inviting really the whole creative industry to end this crisis of unhelpfulness. And my invitation to you is let's enable clients, opportunities, challenges, problems to find us so that we can live up to our full potential, because the world needs what you do. The creatives, we're not just an add-on. Like, we're essential to solving the world's biggest problems. But I think we have to be properly positioned. People have to know and understand who we are and what we do. But I know this, we can do it. We can figure this out. So my encouragement to you is step up, stand out, so you can be truly great, which I know you have within you. And I know this too. You're going to blow us all away. Thank you. Oh, let me go back. Can you bring back the screen real quick? I just want to mention something. So tomorrow I'm doing 2 workshops. I think I heard they actually are both sold out. Is that correct? Could somebody confirm? So if you can't make it into the workshop, because in the workshop we're going to spend a couple hours really going through this 3 Ps method and helping you position yourself and developing that language. If you can't get in and you were wishing you could, I am going to just follow me on Instagram. There's going to be a link in my bio. It's there now. and I'm going to redo the session live sometime in the next week or two. So I would love for you to all benefit from it, because this is my gift to you and my way of saying thanks for having me here in Bend. So thank you again, everyone.